Relationship issues?
Relationship talk
On 702.
So on our relationship and sex feature this morning, we are discussing scheduled sex in long-term relationships. Because, my friends, for many couples, as you may very well know, the early stages of relationship are filled with spontaneity and excitement, right? You've experienced that before when you've met someone and the sex happens every day, it happens every week, it happens every second day. But as relationships grow, the dynamics also change, right? Life trends change. You tend to be maybe busier, there's work pressures, you've got children in the house, there's financial stress, just the daily responsibilities that can often push intimacy further down the priority list. I mean, some relationship experts will tell you that one solution that couples are turning to now is scheduled sex. So instead of waiting for intimacy to happen spontaneously, you intentionally set aside time for it in the same way that you would plan for a dinner date or for an important meeting. And for some people, that idea feels unromantic and even too mechanical. But other people argue that scheduling intimacy can actually strengthen your connection with your partner. It can improve communication. It can help you as a couple prioritize that relationship. And I'd like to know from you if you schedule sex in your relationship, in your marriage. Do you schedule it? Do you schedule intimacy? Do you actually say to your partner, your spouse, that on that Friday, it's going down? Or every second week, it's going down. We have to be intimate. We have to do it. Give us a call on 011-883-0702 or WhatsApps on 072-702-1702. How do you go about dealing with the changes that come with your intimacy with your partner as a result of just lifing, if there's such a term, right? You are older, you've got stress, you've got children around the house. So the dynamics influence just the level of intimacy and connection you have with your partner. How do you manage that? 011-883-0702. Send your WhatsApps as well on 072-702-1702. Lisa Welch is a sex educator who is going to guide us through this conversation. Lisa, thank you so much for making time. Great to chat to you again. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. It is great to chat with you as well. And what an interesting topic. I can't wait to hear what people think about this one.
Yeah, same here. But I also want to hear from you how do you define scheduled sex? Because when you mention this phrase, a lot of people react with surprise. Like, what exactly does that mean in the context of relationship coaching?
Yeah, good question. So I would argue that it's quite a romantic thing to do because think about it. If we think about what is romantic, it is somebody thinking about you, anticipating time with you, planning time together, giving you like prioritized connection time. That's essentially what we're doing. We're not saying at 8 p.m. we are stripping off and getting it on, no excuses. It's not that. It is just creating space in our busy schedules. Like you said, we're busy. We've got kids, we've got jobs, we've got so many priorities that it is like an important meeting. Surely your connection time with your partner is as important as your meeting with your boss or your meeting with your client. So it's putting it in the calendar, putting fun and connection time in the calendar so that intimacy doesn't just get bumped off to next week. That's how I would define it.
All right. So it's not like, okay, 8 o'clock on Thursday evening, this is what we're doing. Take off your clothes. And it's more intimacy, and it doesn't have to be penetration. It could be other ways that you just intimately connect with your partner.
Exactly. That is exactly it. And that can look different for everybody because we don't know how we're going to feel on Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Right? Life does happen. Life, like you said. And maybe we won't feel like penetration, but maybe we will feel like spooning or massaging or watching a movie together. There are so many different ways we could spend this time. So scheduling sex yes, but really we're scheduling connection time because sex can have a broad definition. So really it's connection and play. I like to have play in there as well.
Okay. Let's also understand something before we even hear from the listeners if they schedule sex or intimacy with their partners. Why is it, Lisa, that many couples in long-term relationships struggle to maintain intimacy over time? Because in the beginning, it's all exciting. Sex sometimes happens twice a day, sometimes every second day, because, you know, the adrenaline is high. We're so excited about each other. But the longer the relationship goes and over time, that intimacy starts to wane.
Yeah, this is not a sign that the relationship is failing. It's really normal, very common. If you think about it, in those early days, the endorphins and the hormones are going wild. We're very excited. We usually don't have as many commitments to juggle. That's true. And sex is more of a priority. It's really important to us at that stage when we're brand new and we're so excited about one another. So it feels like we're not scheduling it, but it just is high priority. So we are scheduling it. We are planning for it. Maybe the logistics are not so difficult. There are not children necessarily to organize. And maybe, you know, we have to plan to meet up somewhere because we're not living together. So then we make sure we have on the lingerie and the nails are painted and the hair's done, right? So we're planning ahead, even though it feels so spontaneous. Actually, we just are highly motivated to do it in those early stages. So just because that seems to wane, it doesn't mean that there's a problem in the relationship. It is just life. There are other commitments. It is less novel and exciting because as we kind of get used to one another, we know what to expect. It's easy to make an excuse. It's easy to push it back a day or 4 or 10. And we don't often put in the same amount of effort. So then it's easy to just let it go, especially if sex has become boring or mundane or we're following the same kind of structure every single time. Then it's not so like, oh, I've got to try this, or what are they going to do? Or I can't wait to see how they like this new thing I try, or, you know, so we're not putting in as much effort as well often. And so it just becomes, you know, something that we get to one day. We know we'll eventually do it.
Yeah.
It's not such a priority.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some people listening to us now, Lisa, and they're thinking, but scheduling intimacy actually sounds quite unromantic. You know, there's something exciting about intimacy or sex being spontaneous. So how do you respond to that? So can planning time together actually increase desire or anticipation between partners, or to other people, does it just go, oh, God, it's that Thursday, now we have to do this or be this way?
So it's brilliant that you're asking that because, yes, some people do think it's so unsexy and they think that there's nothing they'd like rather do less than just this date, this time. So but what I would argue is that, yes, it can be romantic and it can be fun and it can really be a huge benefit because it removes, number one, that pressure and rejection if there's one person always initiating. I'm sure a lot of the listeners can resonate with this. There's usually one person who's always the one to say, hey, can we like get it on tonight? And there's often one saying, no, not today, right? And that is a lot of pressure, and that rejection can cause resentment. It can actually cause a bit of difficulties in long-term relationships, and especially when there's a desire discrepancy. This is a way around that because nobody has to initiate. You've got a planned time when you're going to connect, and then you take off the pressure of that connection having to be intercourse. So it just means that both people are prioritizing a space in the calendar to be together. So there's less chasing and rejecting, and there's less, dreading, emotional tension and all of that. But it can also increase desire by building anticipation. It's something to look forward to. It's exciting. Maybe you will dig out the underwear from the back of the cupboard, Maybe you will try that new toy you've been thinking of, or that bottle of lube, or, you've got something to plan for. So you're not just falling into the typical structure of, kissing, a bit of fondling, and it kind of follows the same thing. It gives you something to look forward to as well.
Yeah. Do you think part of the problem is maybe like how sex and intimacy has been portrayed in media? Because, in the movies that we have always watched, it's never scheduled, like it's spontaneous, which always looks interesting. Like, woman comes back from work, and then husband comes out, welcomes her, and then they get it on. Or someone comes to see you at the office, and like there are these kind of impressions that sort of the media in the film even like have always portrayed in the drama series. And I wonder if that's part of what has built our expectations. That's why we don't think that actually, in fact, a friend of mine, when I was doing prep, said to me, that's maintenance sex. And I thought, do you have to call it that? But it is actually maintenance sex. When you're scheduling it, you realize that this is something that still builds this relationship. It's how you actually maintain the relationship, as uncomfortable as that term may be.
Yeah, I mean, so yes, you're right. I mean, if we could all go and live in a Hollywood movie, that would be great. We would never have to discuss things like contraception, they never talk about that. They just look at each other. There's no consent conversation. They just suddenly both want it at the exact same moment, and they're ripping each other's clothes off, and it's great. No child walks in. No one's granny is in the other room. It's just not real. In reality, it's not always easy to find privacy. It's not always easy to find times when our menstrual cycle is in the right place where we want to have sex, or, there's no work stress looming on the horizon. So yes, in a way, your colleague is right. It is maintenance sex. And there's nothing wrong with that, because by having this maintenance sex, whatever that looks like, it actually allows you to build the comfort levels with one another that could lead to more spontaneous sex. Because the more couples actually cross that bridge and don't leave that tension, that emotional divide, that kind of unspoken awkwardness, right? When people start to move towards what might be considered a sexless marriage, when they've gone a very long time without having any intimate moments together, it can be very awkward to reach out again. There's so much fear, and, especially our bodies are changing, we're aging, and, illnesses happen. All of these different things happen to us, and we worry. And we're all insecure. Nearly all of us on this planet are insecure about how we perform in bed. We want to be good at sex. And so if we wait for months or weeks or days, we might feel like we're getting rusty, and then that becomes even more difficult. So maintenance sex has a place, right? You're keeping that connection, you're maintaining that, time together naked, even if that's what it is. That touch, that intimacy, that closeness, that bond can then grow, because from there, not only the act itself, but the conversations that arise from that can help to make your sex life better in the long term. You can learn, what did you enjoy? What didn't work? What else would you like to try? What can we bring in to really heighten this experience? So yeah, maintenance sex is important.
Yeah, I like what you say. Spend time together naked. You may think that's weird, but maybe that's what actually brings you guys together. Just chill there, naked, fully, and just embrace each other. How's the weather today? Actually, the weather agrees. Do that with your partner when you get home later today. How about that? Watch a movie and be fully naked. You don't have to overthink it. Just be fully naked and watch a movie and be warm. Here's an idea for a Friday night. 011-883-0702. After the break, I'm going to go to your calls and your WhatsApps. Have you gone a long time without sex with your spouse, with your partner? How have you navigated that? And have you ever considered maintenance sex? Have you ever considered scheduled sex? Have you done it? And if you don't think it would work for you, let me know why you think this is probably not something that would work on 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. It's 21 after 11.
Relationship issues?
Relationship talk.
On 702.
24 minutes after 11 o'clock. Let's start with your WhatsApp voice notes on 072-702-1702. Some text coming through. This is James on the WhatsApp line, says, "Hi, Clement. I'm from Lesotho. I think it depends on whether it's a long distance relationship or not. If it is a long distance relationship, then it's a known fact that when we meet, it's going down." Another message says, "Clement, living in a small house with kids is really hard. We would like to watch movies fully naked, but the kids are there. It's really hard." That's a message from Gaylord from Lynn Mayer. Yeah, sure, Gaylord. I appreciate that. just sometimes maybe send the kids to be with granny or granddad or to be with uncle or auntie. Send them over there to just, even if it's just for a night, they can do a sleepover there. But it's important to be intentional about creating those intimate moments with your partner.
Hi, Clement. Yeah, a very interesting one. This reminds me of when I was still in college, training as a teacher. That must be about 40 years back because I'm 60 now. I was in my early 20s then. So there was this guy who will always share a joke, one of the naughty ones. So he shared this joke. He said there was this couple who, for some reason, decided that they are going to follow a scheduled pattern for making love. So they decided that they are only going to have sex on days that have an R in their spelling. So which means they're only going to have sex on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So one Monday, the guy was feeling like it. So he was busy touching the lady. And the lady said, no. Remember, love, it's Monday today. We can't do it. And the guy said, no, man, it's Monday.
Just what I added R there.
Yeah.
Clemens, hi. Thank you for a great show as always. I also had an instance where I struggled to be the one asking all the time, and my partner so we say no. It was for her. It was due to the post-pregnancy, but then we navigated that well. But now my challenge is, this scheduling thing is not for me because it creates an atmosphere of pressure wherein you feel like you are subjected to performance at that particular juncture, yet maybe you are not really in the very best of space. And I find that some level of being spontaneous is actually very important because now, in the middle of the night, I just want to wake up to someone or thinking it's a dream, but it's actually happening. Someone is on top of me, so being spontaneous is of, I think, great value when it comes to sex.
Yeah. So, and Lisa, I suppose what you were trying to say earlier is, don't think of it as, we have to take off our clothes and then, there must be penetration. No, think of it as intimacy, because then that's more broad. Maybe you guys are just, cuddling on the couch, watching a nice rom-com, So that's so then you are not under pressure. As you said, Lisa, earlier, life happens. Like I could be stressed on the day, or maybe I'm just not interested. But don't think of it like that. Think of it as just an intimate moment with your partner.
Exactly. And I also wanted to say, you're allowed spontaneous sex too. Scheduled sex doesn't mean you're not allowed spontaneous sex. If you want to wake up in the middle of the night, it's okay. You can still do that. But yeah, I understand the feeling of pressure, but then you have to be really open with one another about what you're scheduling. It could be a scheduled date where you go out for dinner, or it could be a cuddling on the couch evening, or it could be getting out the whips and chains. You decide what you're scheduling, or you decide if maybe, we've spoken about this before, but having a menu of options. You could have light intimacy options like cuddling and kissing. You could have something a little bit more intense like touching, caressing, oral, that kind of thing. Or you could have penetration if you wanted as well. You can choose what things are available, because you don't want the case where it's really important for somebody that penetration happens sometimes, but the other person is doing everything in their power to avoid that. So you need to try to be really open and fair with one another about this. Like what matters to each of you? What can you be available for? How frequently can you make time for this? I mean, there's no wrong or right answer. There's no set number of times. I think couples on average have sex about 54 times a year. That's about once a week. So I feel like a once a week connection and playtime is realistic for most people. It may be that you have to bribe the children with a movie or, an iPad, or you have to send them off to somebody, or, there's ways we can be creative. Be creative because you deserve it.
It's 11:30.
Relationship issues
Relationship talk.
on 702.
It's 25 minutes before 12 o'clock. We're having an important conversation on our relationship and sex feature about scheduled sex in long-term relationships. And just a gentle reminder that this is adult radio, so no kids are allowed in this conversation. We're talking about scheduled sex because for many couples, of course, the early stages of a relationship are going to be exciting. You're having sex so ever often, but relationships, as they grow, life tends to get busier. You've got work, stress, you've got children around the house. There are a lot of dynamics that come into the play which can interrupt the intimacy moments with your partner. But then you've got to understand that sex is part of the way you maintain your marriage, part of the way you maintain your relationship. That's why some people call it maintenance sex. And we're speaking to Lisa Welch, who's our sex educator, about why it's important to schedule sex. And not necessarily that you have to say on a Thursday, then there's going to, at 9 o'clock, you take off your clothes, there's penetration, but just intimacy, whether you're going to be butt naked with your partner and you're watching a nice rom-com and you've sent the kids to be with their grandparents or to go visit their friends for and enjoy a night out with their friends. The point is you're scheduling time to be intimate with your partner. You're scheduling time to connect at an emotional level. Maybe it's date night and you come back and you just watch a beautiful romantic movie. Do you do that? And if you don't, how do you then manage the dynamics that come with life that often interrupt intimacy moments in your relationship or in your marriage? You can give us a call on 011-883-0702, or you can send your WhatsApps on 0727021702. And if you've been in a long-term relationship or marriage and you've had a long time without sex with your partner, how are you navigating that? And is scheduled sex something you would consider? Give us a call or send a WhatsApp voice note. I've got some messages that have come through here. Lisa, let me read some of them. One person says, "Hi, Clement. This has actually helped me. I'm an entrepreneur and I'm forever busy and have no time for sex or intimacy until my wife and I started scheduling our intimacy. And we don't just have sex. A lot of the time we have catch-up movies, we play games. We have 3 kids and we put them to bed on time, get a bottle of wine and just have our time." That's it, Lisa. That's exactly what you were talking about.
That's amazing. I love it. Yeah, that's it. As an entrepreneur, you know how important it is to schedule the things that have to get done, the things that are important to you, the things that are building your future, right? And so this is important. Your relationship is essential. And the same way you have business maintenance tasks, there are relationship maintenance tasks. Your marriage or your spouse, your partners, they are important. It's important to us as humans that we have that connection, that touch. If you go as deep as to look at the greatest regrets of the dying, it's often that they worked too much, that they didn't take time for the things that were important. It's so easy in the moment, I'm guilty of it, to put work first, to just try and get this thing finished, to just try and, do that, do this, the washing needs doing, the dishes are in the sink, the email needs to be sent. But really, what is important? Sometimes I think we have to get used to the discomfort of allowing ourselves to do the fun things, the touchy-feeling things, the things that feel less important. We have to get used to leaving things undone so that we can do those important things. I'm talking to myself here because it's really hard to close the laptop and walk away sometimes. Whereas your family is there, your partner is there, and they need you and you need them. So, it's just remembering that we're humans. We need touch. We need that connection. And if you are lucky enough to have someone special in your life, then scheduling time with them is really
recording stopped.
Yeah. Another one on the WhatsApp line says, "Good day, Clement. I also have tried to schedule sex with my partner, but it didn't work. My husband, I just wasn't keen on the idea. He thought I was mad." Let's actually address this, Lisa, because there are people that are quite rigid in relationships or marriages where they don't want to try out new things. So, I mean, there's a message that came through just as an example from someone on the WhatsApp line who says, "No, Clement, to me, sex is about penetration. After that massage, pagati. Pagati in English means inside, meaning it's penetration." So it's like someone,
It's happening.
and this person clearly says that's how they have sex with their partner. They massage each other, and then after that, they just go into penetration. And if a partner then comes up with a new way of doing things and says, "Just romance me, like just get me to really be in the mood. Like tell me when I'm still in the office what you're going to do to me when I get home." And then they think, "No, that is weird." How important then is it for couples to just be agile, just be interested to try something that your wife, your husband, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your partner may just want to try? Maybe you don't think it's going to work for you, but be open to the idea.
Yeah, I mean, those are both very real scenarios. So let's just start with the partner who doesn't want to schedule. You don't need to tell your partner that you've scheduled, right? You can make yourself available. Make yourself available like, okay, you know what? Thursday night, I'm going to make sure that I'm ready for intimacy, however that looks, and then just initiate with them, knowing that they could say no and trying to be okay with that. Or you could try and organize a date night. You just organize a date night. You're not saying you're scheduling sex, but this is the time together. Let's go out. Let's do something fun and make sure there's enough time and space around that for intimacy. So those are two ways you can do it. And a lot of people don't like to tell their partner that they're scheduling sex, but at least it helps somebody, especially particularly somebody who's neurodivergent, for example, to be, helping themselves to prepare mentally for intimacy, that they in themselves know, okay, I'm available on this night, and then they will initiate. So it doesn't have to be an agreement necessarily, but that doesn't mean the person has to say yes, but you are creating the time, space, logistics, etc.
Yeah.
So the second caller who was asking, or who was saying that they just like to go to penetration, that's the way they like to do it. Then I want to say everybody's experience and preference is valid, right? We have different sexual blueprints. Some people are more sexual, where they want to get straight down to the act of penetration. Some people are more energetic. Some people are kinky. It's really fun to look at. Go and Google your erotic blueprint, anybody who's curious. Now, if you are somebody who your blueprint is sexual and you want penetration that has to happen in order for you to feel satisfied, then you need to have that conversation with your partner and be open to their blueprint too. It's okay for you to say, this is how I like it. This is how I would like it to happen quite a lot. And then they get to say, okay, well, this is how I like it. And this is how I would like it to happen. I mean, yes, I know it's difficult to hear, I want to try something new, often because we think, well, why? Does that mean I'm not good enough? Does that mean that you have been looking elsewhere? Like, what's going on? Am I not good in bed, right? It often comes back down to that. I'm not good in bed. Don't tell me you want something else other than what I'm giving you, because that makes me feel insecure. So it's looking at that instead of being insecure, seeing that our lives are short. We each have different preferences. We each have different things that we are curious about. And wouldn't it be wonderful if we could explore in small ways together that we feel comfortable with? We're not saying override consent, but can we have those conversations where we say what we enjoy together and what we would perhaps like to add? It does bring richness. It keeps novelty. It keeps people interested. It keeps a long-term relationship fresh. So I'm not saying you have to avoid penetration, but if that's how you like it and that's important to you, then you must understand that perhaps there's something that could be important to your partner. So can we be equals in this and allow those kinds of conversations that, yes, they might feel difficult, but if we're big enough to be doing these things, then we're big enough to be having those awkward conversations.
Yeah. How explorative do you think couples have become in recent time when it comes to sex? Because, of course, much of what we do as humans is influenced by the things we've watched, the things we've been told. And I mean, I really did chuckle when I read this message from this anonymous on the WhatsApp line who says, we massage each other and then after that it's penetration. And I'm just thinking, okay, but is that now going to be your life for the rest of your life? Like, that's how you're always going to be intimate with your partner? Like, you're not interested in being explorative and trying other ways to excite each other in the bedroom or to just try other things other than penetration? What's from your observation as a sex educator, Lisa, and the coaching you've done, do you think couples are becoming more and more explorative, or just like it's just one way of doing things for the rest of their lives and they're okay with that?
I think humans, we're creatures of habit. I mean, even with regards to self-pleasure, the majority of people have learned one way when they were young and they do it the same for the rest of their lives. The same with sex. A lot of us, especially in long-term relationships, we find a structure. It could include massage. I mean, a lot of people don't even include massage. Maybe it includes a bit of touch, a bit of kissing, and then it's straight to penetration. And then usually he orgasms and it's all over. That is what a lot of people are doing over and over again. And it's okay. That's okay. We celebrate pleasure in any way it comes. I'm not saying it's wrong, but there is just so much more available. There's so much pleasure potential in our bodies. It's not all genital based, right? There's so many ways we can experience pleasure together and alone. And it's just a shame that a lot of people are not curious about trying that. And I think it has a lot to do with taboo. It feels wrong to be investing any time or resources into learning about how we can increase our pleasure. It feels frivolous when there are more serious things happening in the world. And there are serious things happening in the world, of course. But pleasure can actually help to fuel us, to ground us, to settle our nervous system, to create a bond with our partner. And so luckily, we have things like 50 Shades of Grey, which, while it had its own issues, opens other conversations. And so there are lots of people in the world that are trying different things. That doesn't just have to be kink and BDSM. What one couple thinks is novel and exciting, another couple might think is no big deal. So it's just like following your own curiosity. That's what I advise people. Like when they are thinking about sex, or when they allow themselves to daydream, or when they even look at erotic material, what are they drawn to? What are the curiosities? If they were to look at a toy shop for adults, for example, what would it be that they're looking at? Like, allow themselves to get curious and think about, like, I wonder how that would feel. And just invite that into your life. As adults, life is heavy and it can be difficult, and there can be so many serious things to think about. So this is one outlet where we can play, where we can learn about ourselves, and that can actually bring us richness to our overall lives in the long term.
Yeah. 13 minutes before 12 o'clock. More of your WhatsApps after the break.
Relationship issues
Relationship talk.
on 702.
It's 10 minutes now before 12 o'clock. We're wrapping up our conversation with Lisa Welch, who's a sex educator. And today we've been discussing this hour scheduled sex in long-term relationships. Because the longer the relationship is, it really doesn't get as exciting as it was in the beginning, in as far as just intimacy and sex is concerned, because there are other dynamics at play, right? Whether it's work stress or pressures, or maybe it's that work pressure, or it's the kids that are around the house. Maybe it's the medication that you take that often suppress your libido, just the other daily responsibilities as well. So how do you then navigate that, right? If you have gone a long time without sex with your partner, how do you navigate that? Have you ever tried to propose scheduling sex and ensuring that there's maintenance sex or intimacy that happens even in those moments? Give us a call or send a WhatsApp voice note. Speaking of kids, Anonymous on the WhatsApp line says, "Hi Clement, I don't mind scheduling sex, but we have 2 kids. One is 14 and the other is 5. The issue is that as soon as my husband puts his head on the pillow, believe me, he is just gone and I can't get to wake him up. So it's a challenge. We're trying to get the kids to bed early, but it's a mission. I'm fortunately or unfortunately want sex more than him and love exploring a lot. He doesn't restrict me, but he's a bit routine based, and sometimes that defeats me. Great show. Thank you so much, Anonymous, for sharing the story with us. I don't know, Lisa, because this happens a lot where especially it gets complicated when it's the wives or it's the girlfriend, and I'm talking now in a heterosexual relationship, who are the ones that are proposing these, exploring new things, because then sometimes the men will feel like, oh, why are you proposing that? Does it mean you're not happy with how I've been doing things? Does it mean I'm not satisfying you? Or where did you even learn that? I mean, you'd be surprised the kind of reaction that women get from their partners often when they want to propose new things.
Yeah, I've heard that. I have heard that quite a lot. But what I want to talk about in regards to this caller is the timing. Because they were talking about the fact that when their partner gets to bed, his head hits the pillow and he's asleep. That is quite common. And the funny thing is, why do we default to wanting to have sex at bedtime? We're tired. I mean, we're often asleep on the couch before we even get to bed. So in this situation, can you choose a different time of day, right? You've got children at different ages, so that's tricky. Teenagers, if you've got teenagers, I often say early morning is good at the weekend because teenagers are hibernating. But if you've got young children, then later in the evening is better. So, but can you find a time when both children are safe and you can find privacy? Often it's around just before dinner, like when you're going to be cooking dinner. Maybe both children are occupied somehow. And, you need to find the pockets of time in your life that work, all right? It can feel risky and naughty, but, you build a rule in your house that the door is closed, right? You've got to do what works for your family. But the key message here is bedtime is often a bad time. For people who are tired, which is most adults. A lot of adults are tired. And you're right with what you said about feeling nervous when somebody suggests something new. And a lot of that can come down to framing, just making sure that you are telling your partner what you appreciate about your love life, what you enjoy about your love life, and then bringing up the curiosity as something you would like to explore together. Saying, I heard about this on Clement's show. I heard about this thing. It sounds really interesting. What do you think? Yeah. So thinking about the way that you're communicating it.
Yeah.
Hi, Clement. Ronnie here. I think scheduling sex is old school. It's like our grandfather's time. Yeah, you would schedule sex well, sunset, morning. And right now it should be spontaneous. Like when you're driving to the mall with the one you like, you can just, start it and finish it in the mall. It's new year, new time. Thank you.
That is exciting, I guess, Lisa. I mean, in the mall, as long as it's not in public.
I mean, it's exciting. And you can do it. You're allowed to do that still.
Another message here says, hi, Clement, Anonymous here. For me, scheduled sex is a complete turn-off. I'm the anytime is tea time type of a woman. And at night, we sleep commando without fail, hey? And there's also sex initiation from my side as well. So it's never one-sided. Oh, you're very lucky. And then another one says, Clement, people like spontaneous sex because it's a norm, but that mostly happens in movies. In real life, people are tired. Kids take up time and life gets busy. Add menopause for women and declining testosterone for men, and it's no surprise that things change over time. That's why couples need to communicate openly and make time for each other if they want to keep the connection strong. Oh, Dao, you've said it so well. Here's another WhatsApp question.
Hi, Clement. Shame, I understand that previous caller with kids running around the house. What we would do is we would go to the laundry room with my husband. We would do it there in the laundry room.
Oh, shame, man.
Genius.
Oh, these little ones. Just send them to Granny. Send them to Granny for the weekend or for one night and have the night to yourselves.
But at least in the laundry room, there's a machine going, right? It covers up the noise a little as well.
It does, yeah. Give them headphones, give them their favorite movies, lock their room. You'll come get them after 2 hours. Lisa, thank you so much for coming through. Always great to have you teach us and really educate us about these important conversations and how we can improve connections with our partners. I really appreciate your time. Lisa Welch is a sex educator. It's 3 minutes before 12.